and welcome to the League of Women Voters of Kent's celebration of Women's Equality Day and launch of the Helen Dix Scholarship for non-traditional women students attending either Kent State University or Hiram College. I am Iris Meltzer and I am president of the Kent League. I'm very pleased that today's event is being co-sponsored by the Women's Center at Kent State University. Thank you. The mission of the League of Women Voters, a nonpartisan political organization, is to encourage the informed and active participation of citizens in government to increase understanding of major public policy issues and to influence public policy through education and advocacy. Given our mission, it is my pleasure to recognize those members of government who have joined us today. Kathleen Chandler, Portage County Commissioner and League member. State Representative Kathleen Clyde and League member. State Senator John Eklund. Janet Esposito, Portage County Auditor. Paula Giletto, Portage County Domestic Relations Judge. Vicki Klein, Portage County Treasurer and League member. And Heidi Schaefer, Kent City Councilwoman and League member. On the table in the hallway there are membership brochures for the League and other informational tables about the event we are celebrating today. You will also note that on the registration table there are pledge cards and envelopes for the Helen Dix Scholarship that can be left in the basket there. I am very pleased to announce that thanks to many of you here today, we have already raised more than $4,000. And thanks to David Dix, all contributions up to the amount of $10,000 will be matched. This means that our first scholarship will be awarded for the 2015-2016 academic year. It is now my pleasure to introduce David Dix, Mrs. Dix's son and publisher of the Record Publishing Company, who will share some memories of his mother. David.
Thank you, Iris. First of all, it's really so kind of you to think of my mother this way, and I so very much appreciate it. She was very devoted to the League. You knew my mother. She was not a shrinking violet. She was very devoted to women expressing themselves, and at the polls in particular. And she was adamant about the voter's guide, and some of you are familiar with that. I know we appreciate it, and to tell you the truth, I rely on it quite a bit myself on election day. So please keep up the good work, and I think it serves us both well, and I think it serves the public well. So I appreciate that. I do appreciate the scholarship because it's so appropriate for my mother, who this may be hard for me to get through, but she, some of you have heard this before, but she graduated in 1934 and was in the depths of the Depression, and she wasn't going to go to college and couldn't afford it, and her family had broken up, and she was her senior year supporting herself in a boarding house, changing beds and stuff, her senior year in high school, and so she got an offer to go to work in a department store in Painesville. All these little towns had department stores in those days, and she took it because a job was a job in the Depression, and her guidance counselor found out about it, and he said, you're not taking that job. You're going to go to college. And she said, well, I can't afford it. And he said, look, I'm going to take you down to Kent State, and I'm going to get you a job in a restaurant. I know a guy who runs as it may seem impossible now, but Robin Hood was really a very nice restaurant. He got her this job with Doug Miller. He owned it. I met him once. He stopped to see Mother when I was in high school. He was not well. I was declining, but he really was the one that stabilized her finances enough that she could go to college. And she took a lot of other part-time jobs. One of them turned out to be working for my father. And, and the rest was history after that. But I know that this would mean a lot to her, and appreciate your doing it. And I'll try to support it as well as I can. We'll get it to a meaningful amount, and maybe we can help some other young Helen Dix out there somewhere. And, appreciate it, and thank you so very much.
My name is Cassie Peg-Kirby, and I'm with the Kent State Women's Center. I just wanted to thank you. That's a wonderful tribute to your mother, and thinking about the legacy that she leaves for her family and all those others that will benefit from this. That's wonderful. Thank you. I'm actually here today to talk a little bit about Women's Equality Day. We're here, we're talking about amazing women, and we want to spend time talking about some of the women that came before that got us to the place where we could be here today, looking out at some of the amazing folks that are out here in front of me. I also think it's wonderful to be in this building that has some history. I believe it was founded in 1923, so if only these walls could talk, I suppose. We'd hear a little bit more about what I'm going to talk about. But I'm going to go ahead and show a few slides with my colleague Jenny's help. I'm going to show a few slides just to get us started, thanks to the National Women's History Project. Maybe.
You know just what was wrong with me till your kiss helped me.
And I'll be serenaded by some lovely music while I show you these slides. That might be more exciting, but I want to tell you a little bit about the history of Women's Equality Day. Congress designated August 26th, which is the anniversary of the ratification of the 19th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, as Women's Equality Day. This annual celebration recognizes and celebrates women winning the right to vote and their tremendous ongoing work to expand American democracy. From the earliest years of our history, women have played pivotal roles in creating, expanding, and sustaining the spirit of American democracy. They spoke in many voices and supported many causes, but their courageous actions make up an exciting and inspiring part of our common heritage. As many of you know, women in the United States weren't able to vote until the 19th Amendment was ratified on August 26, 1920. To win that right, suffragists waged a 72-year campaign of intense organizing, lobbying, petitioning, and direct action that challenged many of the most basic assumptions about women at the time. Yet it was essential to bring the principle of American democracy to fruition. I want you to see all these good pictures. So, women have long had a challenging and contradictory relationship with American democracy. In fact, women practiced democracy before they actually enjoyed the rights of citizenship. But they shared the vision and an intense dedication to the ideals of their homeland. Rather than taking up arms to win their civil and political rights, women met together, talked, and organized. They mounted educational drives and electoral campaigns. They took action. In every way, they worked with what they had, within the democratic experiment that was underway, and welcomed all who shared their love of America's promise. Few groups worked harder within the democracy for fundamental democratic rights change than American suffragists. For 7 decades, they demanded equal rights for women from the male voters and political leaders who held the power. Women viewed democracy from the private sphere, and most liked what they saw: public participation, free elections, open discourse, and majority rule. They wanted to be a part of it and saw no reason they shouldn't be. Excluded from the male political parties and institutions of government, women in the late 19th and 20th centuries gathered under outstanding women leaders they freely chose and followed them to the end. When conflict arose, they tried to resolve them. And when they couldn't, they worked separately towards the same goals. Suffragists worked every day to win equal rights for women, particularly the basic...
Excuse me. Did you say suffragists worked every day? We didn't work every day, honey. We fought every day. Now, then you going on and you saying these words so easy. It wasn't easy. I remember.
I'm sorry, but we'll have questions and comments afterwards. If you could wait a minute.
Oh, no, honey. I gotta say what's on my mind now. Now, I'm trying to come into the fact that my picture has not been shown here yet. Now, I know I should be in one of these photos somewhere. Am I in the next photo?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure what you're talking about. Who are you?
Well, it's not always about a name now, is it? Now, I come from a place where names weren't important. Okay, it was always about the color of your skin or whether you were male or female. It really didn't matter that my mother named me Ida B. Wells, now did it?
Ida B. Wells-Barnett, the Ida B. We are so honored that you are here with us today. I don't even know what to say. What brings you here, Ms. Barnett?
Well, I was walking past and I seen people coming here today for this whole Women's Equality Day, and I thought I'd just come on in and see what you all are talking about. And you going on with these little statements and showing these little photos, click after click after click. You know, each photo, each line that you say, oh, so easily, has a not so easy story behind it. Now, I was born a slave, and when I was 16 years old, both my parents and a little brother died of yellow fever. And I had to be strong at that point to try and get my siblings to stay together. And at the same time, my surroundings were the opposite of calm. It was a time where blacks had to be restrained, even when we were trying to do the right thing and create peace. And being a black woman, I had to battle both racism and sexism at the same time. I remember one day when I was at work, I was on my way to work on a train, and I had to sit on the ladies' side, of course. And then the conductor came to me and told me to move. I immediately refused, and I stayed right where I was. But then he tried to drag me out my seat. And you know what I did? I bit him. I bit him hard. You know, if y'all see him around here today, y'all tell him that I am not sorry. But he still managed to drag me off that train. And when I looked around, all the white passengers started applauding. They sat there and they watched me get physically removed from my seat, and they applauded. From that moment on, I knew I had to fight. And I will continue to fight, not work.
I do know that around your time, many women decided they weren't able to stand up and fight like you chose to do. How do you do it? How do you stand up and fight like that?
Well, honey, if you don't know by now, I can be very aggressive. I think I was born with the fight in me. You know, my mother, she was born into slavery, and she was beaten. And my father, he was the son of a slave master, and he couldn't read or write because it was against the law to teach slaves to read and write. So yes, I did see some of my people fall back when times got hard. But that didn't stop me. the murder of 3 of my friends only made me want to fight even harder. And all they wanted to do was open up a grocery store. But they were black. And the grocery store across the street, they were owned by white people. So of course there was competition. Many of the whites went to the county officials to try and close down their store. And then the sheriffs, they came with their guns and they dragged my friends out that store, only leading to their deaths. Their killers were never brought to justice. It's even rumored that one of their killers was a judge. A judge! I had to fight. I couldn't just sit there and watch all this happen. And being a woman of color, I had to do something. So I will continue to fight.
Ms. Barnett, with all this that you've accomplished, where are you heading now?
Well, I don't know if I told you this by now, but I'm a writer. And I started doing journalism when I lost my job as a teacher, and I write about racism and sexism and power. And I travel the world and I talk about the treatment of women. Like the women